Joining our delegation today as we took up the next phase of the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay has been one of the highest priorities for the Maryland congressional delegation. We've been focused on not only preserving but expanding the federal role in partnership with the states and local governments and stakeholders to do everything we can to improve the quality of the Chesapeake Bay and its tributaries. We've been doing that for a long time. Some of us started in the Maryland General Assembly. I remember 40 years ago working with Governor Hughes when we started the Chesapeake Bay program. 2025 was the year that was targeted in 2014 for the goals of the last Bay Agreement. We know that we're not going to hit our targets that were set in 2014 and 2025. And the Executive Council of the Bay stakeholders convened a review process to take a look at what the next chapter should look like. We were able to get briefed on that, and I must tell you, we're encouraged by what we're hearing. We recognize that the next chapter in the Bay needs to build on the success of what we've been able to accomplish, use best science so that we can achieve the maximum results for the Bay, but make sure that we are realistic as to the changes that are likely to take place because of climate change, because of other factors, so that there's an opportunity for mid-course adjustments. And we also recognize that the success of the Bay program has rested in large measure because of the support that we've had from the public. They recognize the value of a clean bay. They recognize the value of their streams and rivers being clean. And we want to underscore that our results need to be translated to the public to reflect their benefit from the Bay program, such as more fishable and swimmable rivers and streams. So we went over ways in which we can bring all that together, coordinate better, and have missions that accomplish broad achievements for the Bay and not be tunnel vision in the way that we look at it. And with that, let me turn it over to my colleague, Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Senator Cardin. I want to start by thanking Senator Cardin for his longtime leadership on lots of issues, but thank you for your dedication to protecting the Chesapeake Bay. And thank you for making sure Team Maryland has been focused on that effort. We know the Bay is a national treasure. We also know that its health is vital to the success of the Maryland economy, the Virginia economy, and others in the region. To the watermen and all those who make their living from the bounty of the Bay, to tourism, to boating. So it is essential that we continue to work together to protect the Chesapeake Bay. At the federal level, we're really pleased to have our partners from EPA and Region 3, Adam Ortiz, because the EPA's Chesapeake Bay program is the sort of cornerstone of the multi-state effort. $92 million a year. This year, authorization raised to $100 million. We also have, thank you for the Fish and Wildlife Service representation, we also have a federal program there, the WILD program. All of these federal resources matched with our state partners, and thank you, Secretary Kurtz, for your leadership and that of the governor, are moving the Bay cleanup effort and restoration effort in the right direction. I know that nobody would be thrilled with bringing home a grade of a C+, but the fact of the matter is, it is the highest grade we've seen in a long time, number one. And number two, I want to stress the fact that if we weren't doing all the things that we're doing, we would be falling back fast. I often say, and sorry for saying it again, that cleaning up the Bay and keeping the Bay healthy is like trying to run up an escalator that's going down, right? Even when you're running, you sometimes feel like you're not making enough progress, and we're not. But if you stop running, if you stop doing all the things that we're doing, you go down fast because more and more people move into the Bay watershed. There are more and more pollution pressures. So we all want to do better, but I do want to stress that without the collective effort we've seen to date, the Bay would have died a long time ago. So we're making progress. We need to do more. We're going to reset the goals, ambitious goals, and together we're going to get to those goals. Thank all of the folks who are part of this partnership for making that happen. And with that, let me turn it over to Congressman Hoyer.
Thank you very much, Senator. And Senator Cardin, thank you for convening this meeting. And Mr. Secretary, thank you for being with us. Mr. Administrator, Assistant Secretary, thank you for being with us. We've talked a lot about the Bay. I live on the Patuxent River. Some of our region know there was a Senator Bernie Fowler. He was a county commissioner and a state senator. And every year he would wade into the Patuxent River and he would conduct the sneaker test. And the sneaker test was how long he could walk into the river and still see his sneakers. It bore no relationship to science, but everything to communication, everything to a sense of urgency in terms of the quality of water that flowed into the bay and the quality of water in the Patuxent River. What we talked about today was a sense of urgency, a sense of making progress, but as Senator Van Hollen said, it's tough to say that C+ is where we want to be. It is not where we want to be. We want to be at A+. We may never get to A+ for all sorts of reasons, including the development around the Chesapeake Bay in an intensely developed environment. But I was pleased with the comments that were made today by those who are engaged every day in trying to make sure that we reach what the public wants to reach, understanding that the Chesapeake Bay is one of the most important resources we have, not in Maryland, not in Delaware or Pennsylvania or Virginia or West Virginia, but for the country. And so I'm very pleased that we had this opportunity to get a progress report. But even more than that, pleased to get a report that more progress is essential, more progress is being supported by the federal government, by the state government, and by the local governments. So I know all of you want to hear from our experts who will give you specifics on that, but I was pleased by today's meeting and pleased by the continuing focus on making sure the Chesapeake Bay is what we want it to be, and that is a clean, healthy body of water promoting economics, recreation, and the quality of life in our region. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adam Ortiz. I'm the administrator for EPA's Mid-Atlantic region. It was a pleasure today to brief the Maryland delegation along with my colleagues about the state of the Bay. The short version is that it's going in the right direction. The longer story is that we're still behind. When the Biden-Harris administration came in almost 4 years ago, the partnership was in disarray. The states were suing the federal government and states were pointing the fingers at each other for not making a lack of progress. In the Biden-Harris administration, we've been able to bring the states together. We've been able to show tough love to make sure that EPA is using our enforcement powers to hold states accountable, but also love to make sure that we're providing technical assistance and grants in a strategic way to advance restoration in every corner of the watershed. The results are speaking for themselves. As Senator Cardin and Senator Van Hollen said, the Chesapeake Bay effort received the highest grade in 22 years. That did not happen by accident. That happened because in every part of the watershed, folks have been working together and focusing on partnership. To Marylanders, as a Marylander, the most important Bay issue is Pennsylvania. And I'm pleased to say that Pennsylvania has been stepping up, investing in small farms and investing in wastewater treatment plants. And the higher grade that the Chesapeake Bay has received is mostly driven by progress upstream in Pennsylvania. That's a big deal. So as we come up on the 2025 deadline and beyond, the states and the federal government are in close negotiation about what an updated Bay Agreement looks like. We have our eyes on the prize. We're going to remain focused and streamlined. And one of the things that we've learned is that we have to be targeted and strategic in local streams and rivers that are upstream. The Chesapeake Bay is very far away from somebody in Harrisburg or in northern Pennsylvania or in Cooperstown, New York. So an emphasis and support for communities focusing on their local waterways, recreation, swimming, as well as the beautification of it, is where we're going to focus our efforts in addition to the accountability and funding that we have. But EPA is very pleased to have participated in the briefing today and grateful for the support that we've received from the Maryland delegation.
Well, first, Ben, I want to thank you for your leadership and all of our delegation. When you grow up or you represent the state of Maryland, you represent the Chesapeake Bay. And I think we're all very proud of where we are, what we're doing, and working, with the people that are responsible for the Chesapeake Bay every day. We had a really good meeting. Unfortunately, our former president tried to cut everything in the Chesapeake Bay. Not unusual with that former president. However, we were able to turn that around, and we were able to get the money we needed for the Chesapeake Bay, and even more. And that's something that's very important. We're going to do whatever we can. Maryland, in my opinion, is taking the lead in the Chesapeake Bay, and we're going to help other states that aren't where they need to be, especially Pennsylvania. And that's what we're doing. So we've come a long way. C+ is a long way, but that's just the beginning.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Josh Kurtz. I'm the Secretary of the Department of Natural Resources for the state of Maryland. I want to thank the Maryland delegation for having us today to have a conversation about the state of the Bay. And I also want to thank them for their tireless leadership in bringing resources, funding, technical assistance, programmatic support to the Bay effort, not just in Maryland, but upstream to all of our partners. The key piece of the Bay program that has allowed us to be successful is the partnership. It's the partnership with local governments across the states and with the federal government. In Maryland, we're following the latest science to make decisions on Bay restoration. Recently, the Bay program released the comprehensive evaluation of system response. And really what we're trying to do is direct our resources and our programming to align with that. So what is changing? We're focusing on the interrelation between the things that provide us cleaner water. We're focusing on maximizing and amplifying those practices that give us more abundance in our seafood, drive that economic opportunity across the state of Maryland and across the entire Bay watershed. We're thinking about how outdoor recreation can drive greater support and greater funding all across the watershed in ways that will improve our water quality. But at the end of the day, the thing that's going to allow us to be successful is by continuing to work well together, regardless of state, to ensure that we're continuing to build a more resilient and a juster effort to restore the water quality of the Chesapeake Bay and the communities that are supported by it and rely on it. Thank you very much. And I'm going to turn it over to Congressman Mfume.
Hi, Representative Mfume of Baltimore. A couple of quick things. Let the record reflect that Representatives Raskin, Ivey, and Sarbanes were also a part of this briefing, but they were all called away separately and could not be here for this press availability. This was a great briefing. You've heard over and over again from people about how dear the Bay is to all of us and why it's important. If there's a theme today, it's good, better, and best. And that's how we're moving both as a delegation, and that's how the tri-state area is moving as well. As you know, the Bay is the largest estuary in the United States. Its aquatic life, its contribution to employment, and its dire need for attention is something that we're all here focused on today. So it's a good beginning, a good follow-up, and I want to encourage all who are a part and parcel of it to continue to work with this delegation and to work with the representatives here from government who have made these presentations so that we might be able to move forward. Thank you.
Any questions? Well, there's a process that's being worked out among the stakeholders. They have the recommendations of the committee. They now have the stakeholders working with those recommendations to come to an agreement. They hope to do that within about a 12-month to 15-month period. That would take into consideration the responsibilities under the Clean Water Act as well as under the recommendations that have been made by this committee. They would then determine the timelines, et cetera, and hopefully reach an agreement that would be the framework for us moving forward. That is the process that we anticipate would go forward. The objective would be to maintain the momentum for the Bay program, to the community support, and to make it more relevant to the quality of life of the people that live in our watershed. Yes.
I'm not sure if this ties in, but it is Maryland and environment related. The Maryland Piedmont Ramp Reliability Project, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that, and would that have an impact on Maryland's environment, especially this year?
Yeah, it's an interesting relationship to the Chesapeake Bay, but I guess everything is relevant to the Chesapeake Bay. Let me see if there's other direct questions, and I'll be glad to answer that off the camera. Is there any other Bay related?
Concerns about the fact that the House Speaker has said that there won't be an omnibus in December, and could that in any way jeopardize the funding that the committee work has already gone forward with resources for the Bay? Do you have any concerns?
No, we would prefer to have the individual appropriation bills passed. We'll do a lot better with individual appropriation bills than with another continuing resolution for part or all of the budget or an omnibus. So we would like that. Let me let Senator Van Hollen, who serves on the Appropriations Committee, might have some additional thoughts as to the best way forward.
Well, thanks. As Senator Cardin said, we've always wanted to do each appropriations bill on its own. In the Senate Appropriations Committee, we passed on a bipartisan basis all appropriation bills but one, Homeland Security. So we've done our work on a bipartisan basis. In the House, the appropriations process was entirely partisan. So we hope that they will work with us. I think the main thing is that we do need to get appropriations for the fiscal year that we're about to enter done by no later than December, by no later than the end of the calendar year. So if the Speaker is suggesting that we should kick the can down the road once again, that would be a great disservice to the country.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. I've expressed my concern.